We're going to have a brief chat. Again, Tony and Christine, come up onto the stage. Who's going to be on the right? You can be on the right. Mr. Abbott, you can be on the left. But based on where they're looking, you're on the right. Now, I'm just going to go a little bit personal here. And I just want to delve into the early days of the Abbott family growing up. Can you give me some understanding of what this guy was like as a child? Because I think we'd all be fascinated to hear about it.
Well, he wasn't a child when I met him because he's 7 years older than me. But he was, he was always the big brother. He's got 3 younger sisters and I was the youngest. One of my earliest vivid memories about Tony, Ben, was getting the hammer thump on the top of the head at regular occasions because I was much shorter than him, when we girls would annoy him. But he was always our big brother. Of course, you looked up to him because he was bigger and he was off doing things before you were and making his way in the world before you were. So it's just natural that you viewed him with some measure of respect, even though we weren't averse to taking the mickey out of him when we felt like it.
Let me ask you the same question. I'm a bit concerned about the hammer thump, but just to explain, was she that badly behaved? Did she deserve it?
Look, I am told, although I've extinguished these memories, that one of my favourite tricks was to bring a plastic sword into bath time and administer summary justice to my sisters with this plastic sword. So look, as I said, I can't remember. These are just family legends as far as I'm concerned. False family legends, fake news.
The relationship between the two of you, it obviously, during the debate around same-sex marriage, it was something that we all witnessed because we were all sitting back and you were both lead voices on either side of this debate. What was that like behind the scenes? Because for us, we were all consuming the information, but this is your brother we're talking about.
Yeah, look, it was a long and hard campaign. All of my time in public life, the campaign was bubbling along. And of course, it reached a crescendo in 2017 when we found ourselves in the plebiscite process. It's a cliche, Ben, but over those years, it was a roller coaster ride. It really was, because things would happen and everybody's hopes would be built up that yes, we're going to get a conscience vote in Parliament, or the Irish referendum happened and it's going to happen here. It has to, and then things would then progress and everyone's hopes would be dashed. And to be fair, mostly they were dashed because of things that Tony was doing. But and that made it, even more of an emotional roller coaster for me because, obviously our difference of opinion was playing out in public, but we both knew very clearly where we each stood, and we knew that we would be on either sides of the argument, and that was tough. It is. But as I said earlier, we always knew that ultimately our relationship as siblings would withstand whatever was going on in the public and political forum.
When that argument or discussion was happening in the public, did it happen in private? Were there any times where the two of you sat down together, either formally or informally, and had it out?
Of course there were, Ben, and the discussion was respectful. Occasionally it was passionate, but it was certainly very much a live issue. Luckily it didn't completely muck up Christmas celebrations and things like that. It might just have enlivened a few of them. But look, two points I want to make. The first point I want to make is that I think that this matter was much better settled via the plebiscite than it would have been by a mere parliamentary vote. And I know the supporters of same-sex marriage didn't want that, but I think most of them would now admit that the way it came about was a better way, a healing way, if you like, because those who were on the other side of the argument really have to accept with good grace a decision that wasn't foisted on them by a parliament, a politically correct parliament, but which was a decision made by the whole people who had the chance to reflect on this at their leisure and then cast a judgment on it through that vote. So that's the first point I should make. The second point I should make is that, as far as I am concerned, this matter is now settled. The law of the land says that marriage is between any two people, but churches and others are free to maintain a different position. And I think this is a perfectly satisfactory position for a free and pluralist society to have.
Something I really like about you two is that during the whole debate, I had both of you on the radio giving your different views, and you had very different views. But if someone dared have a crack at the other, you were very quick to jump to each other's defence, and that's a typical brother-sister thing to do. It's one thing for you to bag your brother, but if someone else is going to bag your brother, just to explain where that loyalty lies and how quickly that comes to the fore.
Oh, well, it's absolutely true, Ben. You know, blood is thicker than water, and it transcends political differences of opinion, or even disagreement over something as fundamental as marriage. And you're right, I mean, my hackles immediately rise if somebody, and it happens a lot, let me tell you, that people are criticising Tony within my earshot. But you know, you just have to roll with the punches. People in our position, you know, have to have thick skins, and you just have to cop it.
Just yes.
One of the, I think, unfortunate features of so much of our public discourse these days is that it is not civil. It is not a civil conversation. I think Chris and I were able to maintain a pretty civil dialogue over same-sex marriage, but on so many different issues, and we're seeing it on our streets at the moment, those who disagree are not just misguided and wrong on the issue, but they're bad people, even evil people. And I think this over-moralising, if you like, of our public debates is a real problem. There is not nearly enough acceptance that people of good faith can, in good conscience, disagree with each other.
Just last